viewers, those are the headlines and our key focus. US President Donald Trump has now stated that the ceasefire brokered between Israel and Hamas is still on. This comes amid reports of sporadic violence in the Gaza Strip. President Trump has reaffirmed Hamas's statement on the violence, saying that the leadership is possibly not involved in the incidents of shooting and that the ceasefire will be handled toughly but properly. This comes as the effort to clean up rubble gains traction in the Gaza Strip, with the United Nations now involved in clearing up the roads and basic infrastructure in order to restore normalcy. Listen in to what Trump had to say.
I want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas, and as you know, they've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. Some rebels within, but either way, it's going to be handled properly. It's going to be handled toughly but properly.
Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
of course, we've heard what Donald Trump has had to say. He said that the ceasefire is in place. This comes amid reports of explosions taking place in the Gaza Strip, as well as executions by Hamas leaders of opposing faction members, Palestinian factions within the Gaza Strip itself. Meanwhile, Hamas claims that its leaders were not involved in the shootings and the executions that have taken place, a claim that has been backed by US President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the United Nations is interested in rebuilding the Gaza Strip. Of course, it has been reduced to rubble after Israeli bombardment for 2 years. Meanwhile, as far as the hostages' bodies are concerned, Hamas maintains that it requires heavy equipment and more time in order to retrieve the rest of the bodies from the rubble and the tunnels as well. Israel, meanwhile, has stated that time is running out and Hamas must adhere to its end of the deal, since Israel has upheld its end of the bargain as well. Meanwhile, Turkey has come out and criticized Israel, stating that it would use the fact that the bodies of the dead captives were not handed back as a pretext to invade the Gaza Strip once again. Meanwhile, the United States has made it very clear that its troops will be on the ground monitoring the entire reconstruction process, and it will not be involved. Rather, it will leave it to local actors to take it forward from here. This is the latest that we're tracking from the Middle East. Of course, a lot of high-octane developments post the 20-point peace plan, the first part of which has been agreed upon in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh. Negotiations went on for about a week before the landmark deal was reached in the Middle East, which resulted in a hostage prisoner exchange. 20 live hostages were returned back to Israel, and Israel meanwhile released 2,000 Palestinian prisoners to the West Bank and the Gaza Strip as well. There are, of course, considerations regarding post-war reconstruction that, of course, if the ceasefire continues to hold, there are reports of bombardments taking place, explosions happening in the Gaza Strip itself. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakar Ji, international affairs expert and a strategic affairs expert as well from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. I wanted to understand from you what you make of Donald Trump's statements that have come out, because we've recently seen some rather spine-chilling visuals of executions taking place in the Gaza Strip itself. Israel claims that these are Hamas leaders that are executing Palestinian factions that are opposing them. Hamas has denied these claims. Now Donald Trump coming out and backing what Hamas has stated.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for getting me for your morning show. A couple of points in the question which you have raised. First and foremost thing, the objective and the vision that Donald Trump has in 20-point security proposal or the plan. This is, I'm talking about ceasefire in Gaza Strip. You see, while Donald Trump may be very, very objective and very purposeful in the peace proposal, but things are not so simple and hunky-dory on the ground. And ever since this point came up and the proposal was put into effect, I, for one, have been raising the issue, will Hamas surrender or will they disarm themselves on their own? Or is there a neutral force to ensure The first and foremost thing that comes to my mind is that whenever a situation like this crops up at international level, there is requirement of a neutral force to ensure implementation of the plan. Which is that neutral force? Is Egypt going to sit in Cairo and ensure, or is Turkey going to ensure the same thing, or Qatar is going to do it? So therefore, the dire need on the ground is that some kind of a mutually accepted neutral force, which is respected by both Hamas and Israelis, should be in place before you start implementing anything. Second thing, rather than going ahead with the ceasefire and the agreement which has been reached, Hamas has taken resort to this punitive. This is called inhuman. There is no place for killing of people, innocent people, in this manner, and that too in camp. It is being publicized. So this is worse than, I would say, what one had witnessed during the ISIS and the mayhem in broad daylight. This is the spine-chilling kind of a narrative which is being painted. So therefore, to say that the deal is still on, I think one has to have little caveat in the proposal. How much are you going to accept? Suppose the Hamas is going to carry out similar kind of broad daylight killing. Will Donald Trump continue to accept the same thing? It has to have some kind of a punitive measure. So that neutral force that I'm talking of is to be given the Charter 7, that is the power to execute military action in order to ensure peace under the UN banner or the UN flag. Third point that comes to my mind is that it's very easy for Donald Trump to say that the peace plan is on. I'm very, very pragmatic, Pia. I don't see any peace actually at the end of the tunnel. There is no light at the end of the tunnel until unless all the stakeholders, when the ceasefire was under discussion, when the the stakeholders who were involved in the entire piece, Netanyahu was not present, Hamas representative was not there. So how do you make a peace deal when two primary stakeholders are absent from the talk? Does it have any meaning and substance? By cooking up castles in the dream and building pictures, imaginative picture doesn't take you to a peace, to bring peace to a war-torn city or the place. So therefore, I would only urge and recommend to the people who matter, including Donald Trump, to be more pragmatic, take all the stakeholders on board, and call out the kind of reprisals or the retributions being committed by Hamas for whatever reason they may have. Bring them back. There will be disruptions. There will be break in the ceasefire and the commitment, but still bring people back to the talking table. Get Netanyahu and Hamas together on the table and let them talk one-on-one. Because without, in absence of any of the stakeholders, having any kind of peace proposal is meaningless. Back to you.
All right, so requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking further updates. Viewers, we're shifting our focus away from the